What's going on, Big Ten basketball fans? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with this week's edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Hope you guys enjoyed your weekend as much as I did. Fellow Illini Ryan Baker had a 55th birthday party, legendary. If you follow me on IG, you may have seen some of the videos and pictures. We had a great time. Kendall was in the house. PJ Bowman, Mike Watkins. We had some Illini in the house, so it was a lot of fun. Got a good show for you today. I know we're in August, and people are kind of going on vacation, all that. Not here at Bardo's Breakdown. We're trying to bring the fire each and every time. So we're going to have an interview with UCLA assistant coach Brendyn Taylor. We'll also go over Tyler Underwood, assistant coach at University of Illinois, had some interesting takes on a recent radio interview about the Illini tweaking their offense. We'll have some Flyin Illini stories. I've got the next 5 in the Big Ten top 50 ever. And of course, I'm going to take your questions. All right. All that and more right here on Bardo's Breakdown. Ryan, roll the video, partner. Going on, y'all? It's your man Stephen Bardo coming back at you with another edition, a special edition of Bardo's Breakdown. This is the first time we've had a newer member of the Big Ten Conference on Bardo's Breakdown. I'm pleased to introduce to you all UCLA assistant coach Brendyn Taylor. Coach, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. We like to, in Bardo's Breakdown here, we like to give our viewers a sense of the conference overall, and the fact that UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington coming into the conference. There's a few unknowns for our viewers, so we love the fact that you're on with me today just to kind of whet people's appetites about the UCLA Bruins and what they have to offer to the Big Ten Conference. So I really appreciate you coming on. So first off, your profile is interesting, Coach, because you played 3 years at USC and now a coach at UCLA. Do you get anybody give you any crap for that?
A little bit at first, but everyone over here has been extremely welcoming, open arms. They tell me I'm on the good side now, so it's been good. It's been good.
That's cool. Now, for the traditional, let's say the more traditional Big Ten fans, what is the rivalry like between USC and UCLA? What is that like?
It's as big as rivalry as you can get. It's very, very deeply rooted. I think it's one of the best rivalry in sports. I've been fortunate to grow up in LA and kind of see that from a young age, and it's a big deal. It's real.
Okay. And so you played 3 years at USC. I believe you got a master's degree from Santa Clara. Is that right?
I got a master's degree from St. John's, so I had an opportunity.
I'm sorry.
From St. John's. So
and then go ahead.
No, I played 3 years at USC under Kevin O'Neill, and then 1 year under Andy Enfield, and then I did a transfer to Santa Clara, and then did some other things. Played a little bit overseas, and then came back and got into coaching, and had the opportunity to do my graduate assistant at St. John's. So,
okay. And so, Coach, you've had some success coaching and whatnot, but you kind of newer in the game, so to speak. Share with our Big Ten viewers what can we expect from the style of play that UCLA is going to bring night in and night out?
I think toughness, moving the ball, sharing the ball. We pride ourselves just on being, tough, making the right decision, making the right play, limiting our turnovers, and, bringing some excitement as well.
You guys are really busy in the off season. You brought in 6 really good players in terms of transfers.
Yes.
Can you talk about each of these guys a little bit and what they bring to your program? Let's start off with Kobe Johnson, who did a similar move from USC over here to UCLA like you did.
Yep, Kobe did. I had the opportunity to speak to him about that a little bit. Just, obviously having gone to USC and now being over here at UCLA. He's a great young man. Great young man. I think he fits in perfectly with our defensive style. And offensively too, being able to catch and shoot and knock down some shots. But overall, great young man. I think he fits in perfectly.
Yeah, he's a bigger wing that is
Yep.
was he on the all Pac-12 defensive team last year? Is that correct? Or was
Yes.
he honorable
Yes.
mention or something like that?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. So
So
he defensively, like you're saying, a long wing, really long wingspan, can get in those passing lanes, disrupt a lot of passes, similar to Jalen Clark. And that's what the type of role that we think that he'll be able to come in and have.
And for our viewers, Jalen Clark was National Defensive Player of the Year for UCLA. Outstanding, bigger defensive guard, and Kobe Johnson seems to fit that role.
Yeah.
Eric Daly, coming out of Oklahoma State. Not a lot of people know about him, but his background is fascinating. 6'8". Let our viewers know about him and what you guys expect from him.
Again, he fits that mold of toughness. I think that's one thing that we wanted to do this offseason is just, get guys that fit that mold of toughness. And he's been able to come in and do a great job this summer since we've started. Offensively, pick and pop guy, can take advantage of situations at the mid post and just another great overall young man.
Now, I think Eric played a little point guard in college. So did he retain some of those playmaking skills at the forward position?
Most definitely. Most definitely. He's had a great career. He's played a lot of different places and he's a guard, but also can be played at that forward spot. And like you're saying, he has those playmaking skills, those guard breakdown skills. So I believe that he'll be able to, fit those things at that position.
I noticed Kobe Johnson 6'5", Eric Daly 6'8", William Kyle 6'8", 6'9". Dominique Harris is a great scoring guard. Tyler Underwood 6'9", really good post player coming out of Oregon State. Was what you guys were doing in the transfer portal? Were you trying to get positional size? Was that an intent?
For sure. It was, most definitely an intent. We wanted to have size, but also guys that can play both sides of the floor. We believe that, all of the guys that we got can do those things. And so, again, Coach Cronin's thing is he's huge on defense. So a lot of these guys are really, good offensive players, but they're not afraid to, get their nose dirty defensively.
For our viewers, William Kyle that's coming in from South Dakota State will be one of the best athletes in the Big Ten. There's no question about it.
I agree.
I read a funny story about on his visit. I guess Mick Cronin was doing a presentation midway through, and he told him that he was coming. And his dad pulled William Kyle out to the side. They had a little conference, and they got on the same page, and he was coming. His dad was in tears. I guess because of the happiness of William choosing UCLA. Were you privy to that, and how did that make you all feel?
No, it made us feel good. Obviously we wanted them to be on the same page and they were allowed to do so when they had that opportunity to do so. But, I think it's just a testament of who we are, not only as a coaching staff, but also a program and just a university. He got here and he was blown away by a magnitude of things, the facilities, the campus, our presentation. So it was nice to see the joy. They were able to have real joy, and it was nice to be a part of that.
No, I love hearing that, man. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Dominique Harris, a lot of people don't know about him. Started out at Gonzaga, lit up the scoreboard. I think he was third in the nation in 3-point shooting at Loyola Marymount last year. What can Big Ten fans expect from Dominique Harris?
Unfortunately, he hasn't technically signed with us, so I can't speak too much onto him. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I got you. And then let's move to Tyler Underwood. I read an article where Mick Cronin was on you guys a little bit because it didn't seem like anybody recruited him out of high school. I think he was 6'5", 195, and he had he had a growth spurt right his senior year or something like that. Can you share with Big Ten fans what Tyler Billadu brings to the floor?
Of course, a great offensive player, another pick and pop, like 4 or 5 man, can really space the floor. Tough, comes from a hockey playing family, so that's that's a testament to his toughness. And then defensively, a guy that can be switched on the guards and hold his own. Rebounds the ball extremely well, and another just team player.
Another one of those 6'9" guys that seems to be interchangeable for what you guys are trying to do.
Most
And then
definitely.
lastly, Big Ten fans remember Sky Clark in his freshman year at Illinois. He's coming back home now to the Southern California region where he originates. How
Yep.
excited are you guys to bring in Sky Clark, and what do you think he'll bring to your program?
We're extremely excited. Sky is a terrific young man, and we think he brings, a ton of different options to the table. Offensively, he does a great job at setting up his teammates, but then also he can, knock down some shots and turn into a scoring threat as well. And then defensively, strong guard that can defend multiple positions. And again, I can't hit enough about how just great these young men are. They're great basketball players, but they're coachable. They come in every day ready to work, and so he fits that.
And so, out of this transfer group, these 6 guys that we just kind of talked about, has there been any player that's kind of stood out in terms of leadership, that's kind of, gotten guys together or been kind of the leader in the workouts? Is there anybody that's kind of emerged in that role?
I think that they all have done, a little bit, each on their own. Uh, they're new, right? They're coming into a new space. And so they're just trying to feel everybody out. So between the returners and the new guys, there's been an even amount of people kind of coming together and, like you're saying, having some leadership. So they've all done a pretty good job of, speaking up when they need to and, leading by example on the times when they aren't speaking up. So they've all done a great job.
Okay. And Coach, we're going to talk about your 6 returners now.
Yep.
You've got a nice core that it returns. Dylan Andrews, Lazar Stefanovic, Sebastian Mack, Devin Williams, Brandon Williams, and Aday Mara. Did I say that right? Aday Mara. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. That.
Of course.
Can you touch on these guys, what these guys bring individually really quickly, starting off with Dylan Andrews?
Of course, DA, we call him DA.
Okay.
He brings leadership, toughness. He's going into his 3rd year now. Had the opportunity to play on a team that did really successful in his first year. Obviously, we didn't do as well as we wanted to last year, but he got a wealth of experience. And now coming into his 3rd year, he's really, ready to lead the charge. Floor general, can push him off to the 2 spot and can score. Lazar, another great leader. We call him the old man of the group because he's just a pro. He just does. Okay. He does everything like a pro. He comes in. He's very regimented about what he does. Shuts the lights off early. 9 p.m. He's in bed and he's making sure he's well rested for the next day. He's had the opportunity to play overseas before coming over, and so he's been around a lot of pros growing up, and you can tell. Sebastian Mack, toughness. Just brings that toughness. He brings that attitude that fits Coach Cronin. Offensively, can really score the ball. Defensively, he does a great job on the ball and, off the ball as well. Devin Williams is still getting his, bearings together. Last year, he didn't have the opportunity to play much, but he learned a lot. And I think coming into this year, he'll be able to, improve and continue to learn. Brandon Williams kind of got thrusted into, the starting spot last year and had to learn while doing. And he's done an amazing job and will continue to do an amazing job this summer, but had a great spring, has improved so much. And, he's done really well. Aday, it was a little bit tough for him. He came to us late last year, got to us about in September. So he kind of missed that summer. And then it was a little bit of an adjustment just for his physicality and just, getting his bearings straight. But again, another guy that's improved a lot over this spring. He's playing U20 right now with Spain, and he's doing a good job. So like you said, we have a great core coming back, guys that have been here, understand what it takes to win. and we're looking forward to it.
What has been Coach Cronin's message to your staff and your team about the expectations changing conferences? Because I think it's, for me, Brendyn, I was very sad because I grew up watching Pac-12 basketball.
Right.
On Saturday afternoons, man, back in here in the Midwest, we'd love to see UCLA. We'd love to see USC. It would be freezing out here, man, and it's sunshine out there. They'd show shots of the beach and everything like that. I mean, I was really sad when the Pac-12 went under. But what's been Coach Cronin's message and kind of your approach coming into this new conference?
The great thing about Coach Cronin is that he is the same. He's the same always, and he's not going to change. And so his message is the same thing to us. We have to win. That's the number one message. He doesn't, for lack of better words, care that we're moving conferences, right? He expects the expectations are to win and for us to do what's necessary to win. So that's us as a staff, and that's and our players as well. We want to win, and so we're going to do what it takes to get there.
And so as you move around the campus and you're in the UCLA community, is it more positive? Is it kind of we don't know what to expect? Like, what are some of the expectations? What's the conversation that you're hearing around UCLA with you all joining the Big Ten Conference?
I think that a lot of people were sad, just like you and I, about Pac-12 going under, just because there's so many traditions and there's so much rich history there. But I think that at the same time, a lot of people are really excited because you get a new look at, so many teams that haven't been able to come out this way, or we haven't been able to go and play them. And so you get to start new tradition, new cultures, new history. And I think people are excited. There's so many great teams in the Big Ten. And, I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing these new matchups.
Coach, it looks like you still hoop. Is that accurate?
I hoop a little bit with the guys here and there. I like to work out. I try to stay fit for sure.
Okay, because it looks like you could get on the court and if they were challenging you, it looks like you could hold your own.
100%, 100%. Even we'll do some scout teams, and I'll be the best player on the other scout team, and I'll definitely remind them a little bit like I can still do this now. Don't get it twisted. I can still do this. So.
Yeah, because it looks like you know where the weight room is. So
I definitely know where the weight room is. That is for sure.
Well, Coach Taylor, is there anything that you want to mention that we didn't bring up here that our viewers at Bardo's Breakdown need to know about?
I mean, we're excited. Everyone at UCLA is excited to join the Big Ten. Like I said, we're excited about the new tradition. We have expectations to win, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, Coach, ladies and gentlemen, this is Brendyn Taylor, UCLA assistant coach that you'll be seeing moving forward, representing the UCLA Bruins. Coach, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you to Coach Brendyn Taylor for joining us on Bardo's Breakdown. I really appreciate the time. I hope you guys get something out of this like I do, because these interviews are tremendous. He's taking the time out of his day to help us out. But the fact that we're getting an assistant from each school, I think this is the only platform covering Big Ten basketball that is doing that. So thanks once again to Brendyn Taylor and UCLA. And man, are we looking forward to them joining the Big Ten Conference and us maybe getting a chance to go to LA in February. That's not the only thing that I like, but that is something that I definitely want to see. Moving forward, guys, are the Illini tweaking their offense? So Tyler Underwood, Illini assistant coach, is the offensive coordinator for the team. So he's kind of charged with trying to figure things out with the plethora of talent that they have. And before I get to this, guys, let me remind you that one of the recruits coming in, Kasparis Jaku Sionis. I'll get it. Jaku Sionis dropped 37 in a FIBA Euro Cup game. They lost to France. He went head up against Nolan Traore, who is a projected lottery pick, and he dropped 37 on him. This kid is going to be something, guys. I mean, I was excited for the Illini when they got Kylan Boswell, but this kid, he may get the ball to start the season. And I don't know what that's going to do with chemistry. That's why the guys get paid the big bucks to coach. But, man, this kid, I mean, he's had as good a summer as any incoming Big Ten player that I know of, especially in international play. He's playing against, I think it's an Adidas tournament, and he's playing against some of the top European talent. So I just want to throw that little tidbit in there. You Illini fans, you should be getting excited because KJ looks like the real deal. A 37 in I think Lithuania, this was a elimination game, and Lithuania had to win. Unfortunately, they'd lost, but it wasn't because of Kasparis's effort. 37 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. And he was, 18 to 29 from the field. Cat took 29 shots. My goodness. So just putting that in there before we get to the Illini tweaking their offense. So let me see if I can put this up by itself. There we go. All right. So let me hide this. I'm going to run through some of these quotes from the interview that Tyler had. Let me get it right. I believe it was Derek Piper and Lon Tay. Hold on. We want to on the drive with Tay and Piper. So I want to give the credit where credit's due because this is where the information came from. It's really fun, and honestly, it's a challenge. We talked a lot about hold on. Nope, that's not going to do it either. Trying to figure out these. There we go. Thank you, Ryan. We talked a ton about role identification because we do have so much. How can I master my role offensively, defensively? Remember that phrase, guys, master your role, because it's going to be so competitive to get minutes. I think the guys that master their roles will really stick out. He goes on to say it's all about creating advantages offensively. This summer has been about finding who can create advantages the quickest, whether it's in an isolation, whether it's in a post-up. We're isolating to create. We're posting to create and to get those rotations and see who our quickest processors are. Young people, if you're watching this, listen to these quotes. This is from a Division I basketball coach. He ain't said nothing about breaking dudes with 10 dribbles. He ain't said nothing about letting the ball go from half court. He talked about they're trying to figure out who has the quickest ability to process. If you can't process what's going on the fly, you're not going to play at Illinois. You probably won't play for a top 50 program, okay? Who's good at attacking closeouts and trying to teach some guys who have deficiencies at those things and try to pull all the pieces together. That's the fun thing for me offensively. I think offense is so much about rhythm. It's an art in a way, and just making sure it all flows together. We're putting it together piece by piece. We go on now. It was a lengthy interview, a good one too. It'll always be whatever is the most efficient way to get 2 defenders to the ball. Remember that. Most efficient way to get 2 defenders to the ball. Being completely honest, it hasn't been one of our most efficient ways with this roster, which is fine, Tyler Underwood said. I think it's something you have to practice a good amount to get good at. It'll always be there. Ben Humrickhouse, Trey White, those guys are both capable of that. That gives you some insight on who might be the starting forwards, right? But when you have guards like we do with Kasparis, Will Riley, Boswell, who can get to the ball and ball screens, one thing we're experimenting a ton with is setting a lot of guard-on-guard screens. I think this is fascinating, which is what we call matchup hunting. Booty ball is essentially just another iteration of matchup hunting. So we'll see where it goes. It'll always be a package if we get a smaller guy. What we're really trying to do this offseason, expand our matchup hunting We studied a lot of NBA. We're excited to see what we can do with it. We want to shoot more threes next year. You guys remember Brad Underwood all season long last year kept saying we need to shoot more threes. We need to shoot more threes. We need to shoot more threes next year. It's good for us to do so. Brad Underwood told reporters back in June. I think 38% of our attempts this past season were from three. We need to be north of 40 to 42% of our shots being threes. And we've recruited this team to be able to go do that, open that paint up. It's going to be a priority. A coach that did a magnificent job of this in college basketball has been Nate Oates at Alabama. When he started out at Buffalo, they would fast break, they would space the floor, and they'd have a goon in the paint. So you had to make a decision. It seems that's the way that these teams, UConn, Alabama, Kansas still does high-low action, but some of these other teams, I believe BYU, you'll see them running a similar situation where they're trying to find the best matchup. This has become the norm in the world of college, not just college basketball, but in the world of basketball, because you see guys like Maryland head coach Kevin Willard, along with his staff, Brad Underwood and his staff, going to study NBA teams to figure out what they're going to do with their offense each season. Philosophically, we'd also like to have 4 or 5 guys on the floor who can shoot the basketball at all times, Tyler Underwood said. To have someone at 6'7" who can step out, stretch the defense, shoot the basketball, open up driving lanes for those guards is huge for us. He's referencing Tomislav Ivicic, who is pictured here. And then, this is a long one. The summer is really a good time for myself, my dad, just to experiment. Tyler Underwood said, one of the things that we've been experimenting with is the closest guy taking the ball out. In the past, it's been our 4 men taking it out, which is pretty normal in college basketball. In the NBA, you see a lot of the closest guy doing it. We've been working on that. That just allows us to get it out quicker. Some of those little details, catching the ball higher up the court. If we can, we'd love to advance the ball rather than dribble it across half court to do it a little quicker and more efficient. I love that, because it doesn't matter if a point guard's closest, they can inbound it to a guy that can push. There will be designated players on the Illini team. There's designated players on every team in college basketball that have the permission. If you catch, push. You're going to see that with Illinois. They may have 5 or 6 guys that can be on the floor, not at once, obviously, but 5 or 6 different players at different times that may get that green light that if you catch, push it as fast as you can. This summer has given us time to tinker with those things, mess around with different spacing concepts, and just kind of mess around with things on the court. So it's been fun from that standpoint. We played a lot of short clock games, so 14 seconds or 18 seconds. I don't think we've had higher than 24 seconds on our shot clock. Just teaching our guys those habits. Everyone talks about playing fast, but I truly think it's something that's got to be ingrained in you. We talk about it all the time. Eventually, it's going to slow down for us because we practice it every day. Right now, it's a little fast, and we're fighting through fatigue. It's kind of like the hurry-up offense in football. If you drill it enough, eventually the game slows down for you, and the other team has to keep pace with your pace. We spent a ton of time on that this summer. So, guys, I think that is a wonderful that's some wonderful insight that you're getting from Tyler Underwood and his staff on what to expect and how the Illini may be tweaking their offense this year. I'm fascinated by those tidbits like that. Trying to get the ball out faster, not designated a player to take the ball out. So you're eliminating 2 to 3 seconds. You guys remember, if you guys can think about it, many college basketball games that you've seen, the ball goes through the net and you got the point guard sitting there waiting. They're looking up the court, waiting who's going to throw the ball in. And it's usually a 4-man that will try to come, and they might be out of position. Well, now, if the center's there, if one of the forwards is there, if the 2 guard is there, even if the point guard is there, if the 2 guard can push, you're going to see Kylan Boswell and Kasparis in the game at the same time. You'll see Dragibbs Lawhorn and Kylan Boswell, or Gibbs Lawhorn and Ty Rodgers in the game. So it doesn't matter who's closest. Snatch the ball out, get it up the court, maybe advance on the pass, but you're putting pressure on the defense, looking for that matchup. Who can bring two players to the basketball so that they can get an advantage on the weak side, or they can invert. They can bring Ivicic or Morez Johnson away from the bucket to allow driving lanes in the post, or you even let Ty Rodgers go up in post, or Trey Davis. Did I say it right? I think I did. Trey White. I'm tripping. Trey White. My bad. So I think it's fascinating. I'd love to get insights on that. We're going to get different insights from all the Big Ten schools as we scour the league and do our research. But I just want to bring that to you because I thought it was really good information. And it was something that I think is exciting. It gives you a bit of information that you sound more intelligent than the other people around you talking about Big Ten basketball. You give them these nuances and say, hey, look, Illinois is going to do something a little bit different this year on the offense. It's going to be quicker. And believe it or not, they're going to shoot more threes. And they may play a little booty ball, but it's not going to quite be booty ball. It's going to be a little bit different because they have more primary ball handlers. They have guys who can space the floor a little bit better. And I think they have more versatility on this team. So this is great stuff. Thank you for Tyler for the drive with Lonte and Derek Piper for that interview. That was great, great stuff. All right, next up, we got the top 50 all-time Big Ten players. We got the next 5, y'all. This is a good all 10 groups of 5 players are really good because they made the top 50. But this one kind of is close to my heart because some of these cats are guys that I really looked up to, and one of them actually my brother played with in college. So first up, Frank Kaminsky, the big fella from the Chicagoland area. Big Ten and National Player of the Year in 2015, led the Badgers to the national title game versus Duke in 2015. And I tell you what, Frank Kaminsky was one of the most colorful college basketball players the game has ever seen. He was lovable. He made fun of himself. He had the ability to laugh at himself, laugh at his teammates. ESPN and the other networks that were covering college basketball at the time, they loved him because if they had an idea and they went to Frank with it, he'd do it. I remember him wearing a GoPro one time, and he was walking around asking people, I think his fellow Badger classmates certain questions, and it was funny. Or he would do stuff with his teammates. He was one of the most colorful guys, and he and his father, I always loved seeing them. Great people, they get it. Frank never changed, and neither did Frank Sr. They never changed with the success that their family received. So big ups to Frank Kaminsky being on the top 50 all-time Big Ten list. Next up, my man, my Mella, Clark Kellogg from Ohio State. First team All-Big Ten, double-figure score all 3 of his seasons. Left after his junior year, was the number 8 pick in the 1982 NBA draft by the Indiana Pacers. Clark Kellogg was one of my early mentors. I reached out to Clark, and he was fantastic with helping me. He helped me secure an on-air agent. I was able to interview him multiple times for stuff that I was doing when I was first getting started. Anytime I had a question, he would give me all the time that he had. He would always check in on me. Anytime that I'm coming to Columbus and I'm doing a game, if he's there, he always comes over and gives me a big hug, tells me how proud he is of me. A great basketball player, but anybody that knows Clark Kellogg, you know that he's a way better person, a serious man of faith, a tremendous family. Clark Kellogg, one of the best humans that you will ever come up and meet or get to know. And he was a hell of a basketball player. His professional career was cut short because he had some knee injuries. But if he didn't, he was one of those guys that was a little bit ahead of his game. Clark Kellogg could post up, but he was really good facing up. And about 6'8", had handles. I mean, back then in college basketball, guys were handcuffed a lot. Those coaches they had a lot more control over players than they do, in my opinion, than they do now. And Clark Kellogg could have been, like a Marcus Liberty type, a Billy Owens type, one of those 6'8", 6'9" hybrid forwards that could do a little bit of everything on the floor. Outstanding player. Next up, Greg Kelser. A lot of people don't know this. They know he won a national championship with Michigan State with Magic in 1979. I still believe it's the highest NCAA men's championship game. It's the highest viewed game, I still think, in the history of NCAA championship games. That was 1979. Magic and Greg Kelser was a 1-2 punch that was devastating. But here's what I didn't know. He was the first Big Ten player and only Spartan to score more than 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds in his career. That's a hell of a stat, and that's one that I'm going to use in my back in the day segment when we go to Big Ten venues, like I like to do during Big Ten games. That's a hell of a stat, and that I think needs to be broadcast a little bit more. And once again, you talk about one of the best individual people that you will ever meet. I've not been privy enough to meet Greg Kelser's family, but they have to be outstanding because he's salt of the earth. He would make anyone proud to be associated with him. Just a great guy. He comes up, he gives me love every time I see him. Love Greg. Congratulations for being on the top 50 list. Here's a guy that is, I think, one of the most underrated players in Big Ten history. Ted Kitchell, Indiana, was a 6'9" sharpshooter. Could flat out score, y'all. And I mean, he was in that era with Mike Woodson, Randy Whitman, Isaiah Thomas. They were in a golden era in Indiana, right? And Ted Kitchell often gets overlooked because of Isaiah Thomas. I think he was a freshman when Mike Woodson was a senior, I believe. Randy Whitman, he was a soft-spoken guy, but man, could he shoot that rock. Won a national championship his sophomore year. The next 2 seasons, first team All Big Ten, All-Americans last 2 seasons. Ted Kitchell, one of the best shooting forwards the Big Ten has ever seen. And I believe his career was cut short at the NBA level as well. I think he had a bad back. I think he first injured his back at Indiana and never really quite got back to his sophomore and junior levels. And so that cut his career short, but an outstanding and shooting forward and one of the most underrated players in Big Ten history. And then Vashawn Leonard, pride of Detroit, Michigan, started 127 of 126 of 127 career games for the Minnesota Gophers. One of Clem Haskins' best players in the Clem Haskins era. And the Gophers' all-time leading scorer with 2,103 points and had a very good NBA career, a long career. Miami Heat. I think he was with Charlotte. I think he played with like 5 or 6 teams over a 12-year career. He had a great NBA career. Vashawn Leonard, one of the best to don a Minnesota Gophers jersey. So congratulations to Frank Kaminsky, Clark Kellogg, Greg Kelser, Ted Kitchell, and Vashawn Leonard for making our all-time top 50 Big Ten players ever. All right. And so now, you know what it's time for now, ladies and gentlemen. Time for some Flyin Illini stories. All right. So a lot of people, how can I say this? If you've been blessed enough to be around someone that is so focused at such a young age, that's able to put off the temptations that most young people fall victim to. Kendall Gill had an amazing focus when he hit campus. He simply wanted to be the next Michael Jordan. And guys, let me tell you what I mean. He studied everything Michael Jordan did. to the wristband that Michael Jordan wore on his left forearm, to Michael Jordan's signature left hand dunk before he started doing all this crazy stuff in the dunk contest, to the baggy shorts, to his moves. Kendall wanted to drive the same car, he just couldn't afford it. But everything Michael Jordan did, Kendall Gill tried to pattern his game after. Kendall came in from Rich Central High School in Matson, Illinois. Kendall was 6'3.5", 170 pounds, 175 pounds. He was a string bean. He was always crazy athletic. He was always wiry strong, but he was light in the britches. And he was 6'3", 6'3.5", 175, maybe 6'4". Kendall left 6'5", 225 pounds of chiseled muscle. So, and I'm gonna keep it real, y'all, because you watching Bardo's breakdown. That's why you watch. You want the real. Kendall, we would be watching. We'd be in somebody's apartment, and it'd be me and PJ, Irvin Small, and Kendall. That was usually the group, and Ryan Baker. That was usually the five that would we kind of congregate our way to someplace, and we're watching something. So we're watching a game, and on the timeout in the commercials, Kendall's busting out 25 Hindu push-ups or regular push-ups. The next commercial break, he's banging out sit-ups. The next commercial break, he's doing squats. And I'm thinking, what is this dude doing? Is he trying to show off to us or something? We know how hard he works. He didn't care. Kendall gave no F's about who was watching, who saw what he was doing, because he knew the power of compound interest, the compound effect. He knew that if I do this today, and if I can repeat this over a series of days, I'm going to have great growth that's going to outpace everyone else. So as a freshman, Kendall came in at 6'3.5", 175. He leaves at 6'5", 225, and he's the number 5 pick in the NBA draft. Kendall didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He liked the ladies, but he wasn't a player by any means. He was a lover boy. He would find one and try to work out that relationship. But he was an incredibly focused young man. That's why nobody has stories about Kendall at camps, because he didn't go. And the times that he would go, he would, he'd almost get a sugar overdose on Shirley Temples, because that's all he was drinking. He was focused. He knew why he was coming to college. It was to follow in Michael Jordan's footsteps to become an NBA player. And man, did he do it. And every advantage that he could get, he took. I believe between his sophomore and junior year, he went and spent some time with a shooting coach to quicken his release, to get his release point a little bit higher. Kendall did everything in his power to realize his dream. And he was a wonderful example for me. Some of it rubbed off, some of it didn't, because I got advice from the smartest man I know that college was about the social experience in addition to the academic and athletic experience. The friends that you make in college will be the friends that you have for the rest of your life. Well, Ryan Baker just had a 55-year birthday party over the weekend, and half of the basketball team and all the guys, and half of those guys that were there, I still talk to on a regular basis. Those are my friends. So my dad wasn't wrong. And my approach wasn't wrong, because I was able to play 10 years of pro ball, and I had more fun. I balanced academics, the social situation, athletics better than anyone almost in college basketball history. Trust me when I tell y'all that. I was legendary in the balance. That should be my nickname, the balance. Because if you ask my teammates, they'll tell you. They didn't know how I showed up the next day to class, because I had to. I didn't feel good, from the effects from the night before. But I showed up. I wasn't going to get in trouble. I might have been smelling like a fifth of bumpy face at practice running sprints as it was coming out my pores, but I was there. I was winning sprints. So, everybody gets to their point different ways, but I will take nothing away from Kendall Gill. He is one of the best teammates I've ever had, and his determination. Someone needs to study him and write an autobiography for him, because Kendall's journey, some of the struggles that he overcame as a child, are legendary. And to what he has become today, I'm proud to call him my brother, because I love Kendall. He is my brother. Aside from us playing, he is there. Every time I ask for him, he is there. And every time he asks for me, I am there. I introduced him to his wife, right? I'm uncle to his kids. I'm going to be quietly rooting for his nephew next year when he gets to the Big Ten. Hopefully I won't be on the Northwestern Illinois game, because my allegiance will be split. No, it won't. I'm just playing. But big ups to Kendall Gill, man, because he's a great example of what determination and focus can do for anybody in any career space. So thanks for listening to that. I know I went a little bit long, but thank you for listening to that. All right, let's get to your questions. Let's see. Who ball a scoop? Man, Brendyn Taylor looks like he is in great shape. Look at them arms. You heard me say at the end of the interview, the cat looks like he knows where the weight room is. Big ups to assistant coach Brendyn Taylor with the pipes. Off the subject a little bit, but the weekend I stayed at the Hyatt on Neal Street for my nephew's wedding. Oh, congratulations, Carol. Oh, Carol. You see that? I'm sending that out. That's coming that's coming this week. Thank you for your patience. I couldn't help but think of Bardo's breakdown get together when she walked past Neal Street Blues. It was right down the street. I wanted to rewind back to that night. I loved it. I loved it too, Carol. And you made it special with your wonderful generosity, with your sacrifice with you and your son, driving from Edwardsville, Illinois to Champaign, Illinois, just for that event, and driving back right after it was over, and the wonderful gesture of the DVDs from the Flyin Illini season. That's a gift that still makes my eyes water with joy every time I think about it. So thank you, love. I appreciate you and love you. Sky Clark, that's going to be an Illini win if he's playing, says Kid Liddell. You better look at that UCLA roster and then plug the players into YouTube and look at their highlights. I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know. It's going to be fun. Curtis Dietz, Mac is a bucket getter for UCLA. Yes, he is. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these guard matchups, guys, because Mac is a veteran. Think about Dylan Harper, a freshman, and Sebastian Mack going up against each other. Some of these matchups, guys, are going to be fantastic. I'm telling you. What about Braden Smith and Mac, or Braden Smith and Kylan Boswell, or what's Cameron Winter, the Bulldog from Central Arkansas, who will probably be the starting point guard for Wisconsin, or maybe Daniel Freitag, who's an incoming freshman with some great football background, so he's a dog. Ooh, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I can't freaking wait. F your mother. I love some of these. Anyway, F your mother says Kasparis has a really nice game in the international circuit. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. If you had to pick a comp for him, what would it be? Man, good question. A comp for Kasparis. I'm thinking of a 6'6" guard that stays on balance, that has a nice frame. He's not crazy athletic, but athletic enough, scoring all three levels, great vision. Wow, great. Let me think about that one. Let me think about that player comp. You guys think about that too, and come back with what you guys think. Oh, what's up, Tyson? You look like you're new, man. If you're new to Bardo's Breakdown, thanks for jumping on, man. Appreciate you being here. Michigan State is going to Spain at the end of this month for some games. Bardo Do having games against others help you during the season? Maybe helps chemistry earlier than most. Yeah, Tyson, what happens is teams love to go overseas because they get 10 practices before they go on their trip. So everybody gets to work out in the summer. But if you have a tour, you get to really hone down and I don't think you have a time limit on the practices or anything like that. I think you can really dive in and dig into what you're trying to do, put players in different situations and scenarios. And what happens is when you travel overseas, these programs, Tyson, do a great job of giving you exposure to that culture, to some of the historical sites, the history of the area. And so you get an immersion. And Spain is one of my favorite countries. I could live in Spain right now. I loved playing over there. They've got rich culture and tradition in that country. It is a beautiful, wonderful country. And Tyson, what happens is you learn more about your teammates off the court than you ever do on the court. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about your teammates on the court because you go through adversity and you see how guys respond if they get pushed or get backed into a corner or get put in a certain scenario or they're in a coach's doghouse. But you really find out who your teammates are when you're on a bus tour somewhere. You're on a bus for maybe an hour or two and you're sitting back talking and you can find what your teammates like, what they dislike. You can find more information about them. You might find out, something interesting about their family. All that stuff helps you when you get on the court because now you care about your teammates more. So, yes, it really helps build chemistry on the court. It puts players in different situations. It gives coaches a chance to try different scenarios. And it gives the team someone else to beat up on because they've been beating up on each other all summer long. It's refreshing to have someone to go up against. Louisville did it recently in the Bahamas. They had 2 games and they looked really good. And Pat Kelsey, their new coach at Louisville, he needs all the practices and experiences with this new roster that he has. And so Michigan State has some new pieces. Frankie Fiddler, who's going to be expected to step right in and be a big piece of what they're doing. Xavier Booker is expected to make a big jump from his freshman to sophomore year. We'll see Jeremy Fears, who had to sit out the rest of the remaining of the year after suffering the gunshot wound to his leg. We'll see how he's progressed. Jaden Akins. We'll see how all these players, they'll be utilized in different scenarios. So, yes, it's a tremendous opportunity for all of these teams when they go overseas. So thank you, Tyson. What's up, James? Good to see you, my man. James and his beautiful wife are tribe members, and they came to the Bardo's Breakdown meetup in Chicago. It was great to spend some time with them. Was last season a transition year for UCLA or just a little underperformance? Yeah, James, they had some key injuries, and they just underperformed. It wasn't from lack of talent. They had some key injuries, I believe, because Brendan Taylor mentioned one of the players that they were counting on that was out for the year. But it was a situation where they had a lot of injuries. I think they had a player that they were really counting on leave early, and so that kind of threw them in kind of disarray. But you won't see that again under Mick Cronin. And they've got their NIL situation worked out. It wasn't quite worked out last season. It is now. So thank you, James. Hope you guys are enjoying dinner as you're watching Bardo's Breakdown. Thank you for always tuning in and your support. Really appreciate it. What's up, Kenneth? All of the Illinois players on campus and working out. When is the first game? Will Riley got in a little bit later. I believe Thomas Ivasic made it on campus. There were some things he had to work through to get on campus. And then Kasparis had to leave. He was on campus for a little bit. Then he went back for the Lithuanian under-18 Eurobasket tournament. So they've been on campus, most of them. Some of them come and go, but most of them have been on campus all summer. in their first game. Let me look that up. Men's basketball. Let's see. I think Illinois has. I don't know if they've totally finalized it, Kenneth. Why is this stuff loading so slow? Every time I try to do this while the show is going on, this thing, I think I got to get into the computer, y'all. Schedule. Here we go. The first exhibition game is October 20th, Kenneth. Ottawa. No. I'm sorry. That's incorrect. Yeah, they don't have their schedule done yet. I'm looking at last season. Apologize for that. So no, they don't have it finalized yet, but as soon as they do, I will let you know. What's up, Thomas Dagley? Good to see you. Really enjoy these interviews. I do as well. Great to hear their perspective on the coming season. And Thomas, we get insight, right? We're getting insight to some of these players. So when we see William Kyle put on a UCLA jersey, you guys remember that story about he and his dad sitting there, and Mick Cronin's telling them about giving their presentation, and William Kyle's like, bro, you had me at welcome. And his dad's like, whoa, son. Pump the brakes. Let's step outside for a second. They sit and talk, and they get on the same page, and they come in and, hey, we're committed, and his dad's in tears. How great is that, right? That's the human connection that we want to develop with these players, because in the transfer portal era, ladies and gentlemen, these players are going quickly. So in order for the fans to really get attached to these players, we got to get these personal tidbits, and these interviews are great. So Thomas Dagley, tribe member, you are spot on, partner. Thank you for your support. Always good to see you. AVPDS says they're a tournament team and a good team, UCLA is. But I don't get why people are saying they're better than Illinois, picking them to win the league, etc. They're good, but not better than us, in my opinion. Well, AVSPD, you kind of said they're not better than us. The people who are making these rankings, they don't root for a team. They work for a media outlet. So supposedly they're not biased. And so, guys, you guys are tantalized by Will Riley, 5-star, Kasparis projected lottery pick. We haven't seen him play yet. We haven't seen him in an Illinois jersey yet. Now, the players that UCLA has, they have a track record at the college level. So I think it's a little bit easier for media members to project what these players will do in their system, knowing that a guy like Sky Clark is coming in, so you've got a really pass first point guard to some really talented wings and forwards. I get it. You know, there's a lot of unknowns with Illinois. No one's seen Morez Johnson play at the college level. No one's seen Tomislav Ivicic play at the college level. Kasparis Jocksionis. No one's seen him play. Will Riley. No one's seen him play at the college level. So these are all projections. So I don't want you to get upset. Just understand that these media entities, like Maryland, I thought John Rothstein, I was like, man, why has he got Maryland so high? Then when I interviewed Greg Manning Jr., who you guys will see here in a few weeks from Maryland, and I did the research, now I was like, oh, now I see why John Rothstein has them ranked so high. He's also been to their practice already. So he's got intel and he's seen things that we're not privy to yet. So John's been doing this a long time. I don't necessarily go against him. I respect his opinion. So that just to give you a little insight there, but nothing to be upset about. Yeah, David Yin, Coach Fletch gets paid a lot of money. So there should be some body transformations going on. And he's got one of the best weight rooms that you're going to see in college basketball. Is the Illini strength and conditioning that much of a difference from other programs? I think every program is good. Here, let me give you this tidbit, David Yin. Do you remember? I'm going to get outside of college basketball for a little bit. Do you remember the Baby Bulls, Chicago Bulls organization, when they had Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, Derrick Rose? Who else was on that team? Those guys were constantly injured because the Chicago Bulls organization is cheap. The Chicago Bulls have led the NBA in attendance since Michael Jordan left the NBA. Think about that for a second. So there's really no incentive for the Chicago Bulls to even be competitive because they really haven't been since the Baby Bulls. And if you're a franchise that leads the league in attendance for the last 30 years, you're making your money whether you invest in a top-notch strength and training coach and staff. Is it a priority for you? Maybe not. So when the Baby Bulls were together, they stayed hurt. Luol Deng was hurt. Derrick Rose was hurt. Joakim Noah was always playing hurt because the Bulls had an average to below average strength and conditioning setup. Whereas, flip it, if you guys remember, there was a period when the Phoenix Suns got all of the preferred veterans: Sean Marion, Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, all these. For a certain period, the Phoenix Suns were getting veterans in a trade situation or a free agency situation. And one of the main reasons was because of their strength and conditioning coach and staff. They were the best in the NBA. They were prolonging guys' careers. So, David, at the top 50 college basketball level, Coach Fletcher might be a little bit better. But heck, John Sanderson, when he was at Michigan, was as good, if not better, than Fletcher. And John Sanderson is a consultant now, or he was. I don't know if he still is, for the Illini program. But you know, so my point is that if you're a top 50 program, your strength and conditioning, you know, Fletch might have a few more tricks, a little bit better. The fact that he's a registered masseuse probably helps a lot because he can give deep tissue massages. He can, I think he can apply medical modalities in addition to the training staff. He can do different things because he's got these different designations. So I think that sets him apart a little bit. I'm not sure a lot of strength and conditioning head coaches around top 50 programs have a massage therapist certification similar to Fletcher. I don't know if that's the case, but all these guys are good. All these ladies and gentlemen, I shouldn't say guys because they're not only men. They're ladies and gentlemen that head up these strength and conditioning programs around the country, and they're top notch. They have to be, or they won't be employed long. So I think they're excellent. They're at the top of their game, but I don't know that there's a tremendous difference in those programs. Hope that helped. I could be wrong, David. I definitely could be wrong. Maybe I'll do research on some of the top strength and conditioning coaches in college basketball. That would be an interesting topic. Illinois had one of the top offenses in the country last year. Tyler Underwood has to be given credit for that. No doubt. Tyler's the offensive coordinator for the Illinois program. And I'll share a story. I was in Boston, and Illinois had throttled. Yeah, they had just throttled Iowa State. So it's the day between, and I go to the team hotel because I wasn't staying there. I went to the team hotel, and Brad Underwood's in the lobby holding court. Fans, whoever comes through, he's just down there enjoying the experience. Tyler Underwood comes down. He looks like he hadn't slept in 2 days. he's got the iPad in his hand. I think he had like a Gatorade and a piece of fruit and something else. And Brad says, "Man, what you getting ready to do?" He said, "Oh man, I'm about to go watch some more film." Tyler's obsessed. Guys, everybody, how can I say this? There are certain programs in college basketball that have a chance to win a national championship. Illinois is one of them. And everything that these guys do, from Tim Anderson to Jeff Alexander to Orlando Antigua to Tyler Underwood to Brad Underwood, they're trying to win a national championship. So Tyler Underwood is studying NBA teams like everybody else is in college basketball. These guys grind, man. And yes, Tyler Underwood needs to get credit for a lot of this stuff, right? And it's I think Illinois has an advantage because when you have a father-son combination on the same staff and Tyler can say things to his dad and there's an unbelievable trust factor, or Tyler can tell his dad to sit the hell down. You look crazy, and his dad will do it. It's an unbelievable advantage, guys. The trust factor on that staff, unbelievable. So Tyler should get a lot of credit for that. You're right, Ken. M. Brotz, what's happening, man? Do you have concern for Sky Clark on jumping every year? I don't think the assistant coach does. You know what? You can go back on go to Bardo Media on YouTube. I have a video entitled "The Refrigerator Rule," and it basically talks about Sky Clark getting a bad rap because he moved schools, but Sky Clark didn't make those decisions. His dad made those decisions. He who owns a refrigerator makes the golden rule. That's the refrigerator rule. Whoever's putting food in the refrigerator calls the shots for their kids. Until you can put food in your own refrigerator, if you're still depending on your parents and your dad's calling those shots. Sky Clark didn't necessarily want to leave Illinois, guys. He didn't. That's a main reason why Trey White is in Illini to this day. You guys remember that, right? Tim Anderson basically told us that Sky Clark recruited Trey White to Illinois. Sky didn't want to leave Illinois. So I'm not concerned at all with Sky Clark. The fact that he's back home in Southern California, that he's with a blue blood in UCLA, that Mick Cronin liked Sky Clark coming out of high school anyway, he might blossom. So no, I'm not concerned with it at all. No, Ken, it's never too late. He's 20 years old. He's 21 years old. It's never too late. Hey, what's up, Al Nash? Good to see you, man. I know these are like the dog days of summer, but Bardo, what do you know about Michigan's roster? Will they be better than last year's team? Is Dusty May already in the top 5 Big Ten coaches? No. Dusty May's done a hell of a job at Florida Atlantic, but Florida Atlantic did not have the night in and night out grind of a Big Ten conference. You can't simulate the Big Ten conference, ladies and gentlemen. Coming from any other conference, maybe the Big 12, night in, night out, SEC, night in, night out, yeah. SEC and Big 12, if you come from those conferences, you come into the Big Ten coaching, you have an idea what the grind is, the gauntlet of going into packed venues every night. The Big Ten Conference has led college basketball in attendance for 44 years consecutively. That's a grind, guys. That's a grind, right? So I'm not ready to anoint any player or any coach that hasn't been through a Big Ten season. I'm not anointing them nothing on the top of the Big Ten yet. That's why you don't hear me going crazy about Will Riley. Brad said he's got the it factor. I don't doubt Brad on that. But funny things happen when you get in that Big Ten grinder, y'all. I'm telling you, it's different. So Michigan's roster is greatly enhanced from last season. They would be way more competitive than they were last season. Way more. They'll have one of the premier bigs in Vlad Golden. They will have one of the better surprise players in all the Big Ten and Reuben Jones. I'm very high on this 6'5" wing transfer from North Texas. Danny Wolf is an outstanding pickup from Yale, a 6'10" big that really is a guard. He can handle pass, shoot. He can post up. Trey Donaldson, they got a fantastic point guard from Auburn. They've got a stacked roster, right? So they'll be better than last season. Dusty May is not a top 5 coach to me in the Big Ten. Not yet. Got to prove that to me first. Not saying he's bad. I know how good of a coach he is. I love him. I've said it already on Bardo's Breakdown. I've talked about that in previous shows, how much I respect his approach and some of the things that they do that's different than any other team that I've seen. So be sure to pay attention to that. Curtis Dietz, I never understood having the same player take the ball out. You give the defense time to set up. Well, Curtis, here's the thing. The reason why traditionally, like Tyler Underwood said in his interview, traditionally in college basketball, the four position takes the ball out. Why? Because if you guys remember, one of the most famous fast breaks is the North Carolina secondary fast break. And it's even on a made. If your opponent makes a shot, your 4-man hustles, gets the ball up. You push the ball up the floor. The first big hits the block. So that's if the 4-man's taking it out, you give the center time to run the floor to get to the strong side block. You run the ball up the strong side block. You hit the corner. You see if you can get it to the post. You bring it back to the perimeter. You hit the 4 at the top of the key. He swings it to the wing. The opposite wing comes and gives him a back screen, and you get a lob at the rim for a 4 on a dunk. That was a continuous offensive flow off of a made from your opponent, running up the floor to keep pressure on the defense. That's one of the reasons why traditionally the 4 position takes the ball out, because some teams will utilize that old school North Carolina secondary fast break to flow into offense so the defense doesn't have a chance to catch their breath or to change up or to get up in you to disrupt your offense. That's why teams do that. What's up, Kirk? If this is true, and I don't doubt it, we're going to have 5 guys on the court who can pass and handle the basketball. I love the prospect of that. Yeah, Kirk, again, I think you got to tip your hat to Nate Oates. I think a lot of programs are kind of following what Alabama has morphed into in the last few years. They've got the way what Nate Oates has done at Alabama is something. And the more I think about it, that's why Field of 68 put him in the top 10 coaches in the country based on what he's been able to do in terms of the way that they play. They shoot threes like crazy. They push the rock on you. They have bigs that can run the floor, protect the rim. They have bigs and Grant Nelson who can step away and hit the 3 and put it on the deck. Sounds a lot like the Illini, doesn't it? Bigs who can protect the rim. Tomislav Ivasic, Morez Johnson. Wings that can shoot. Big wings, 6'9". Ben Humrickhouse can shoot. Wings that can put it on the deck and put pressure on you off the bounce. Rylan Griffin was an outstanding wing shooter for Alabama. He's now at Kansas. You're looking at Trey White. May not shoot the rock like Rylan Griffin does from three, but he's way better off the bounce than Rylan Griffin was. So the way that Alabama is structured, it seems like a lot of teams in college basketball are following suit. And it's really not an Alabama thing. It's an NBA style. And that's what Illinois is trying to do. So, yeah, Kirk, you should be excited because if it does come together, they'll be challenging for a national championship. Jeffrey asks, what happens when you play another Moorhead State team and shooting cold outside? I still say there's something to say for old school basketball. Yeah, Jeffrey, I get it. But you got to come to the party with the girl that brought you. Meaning that if you get in a NCAA tournament situation and that's the way that you've played all season long, you can't expect a team to go away from what brought them to the dance. You can't expect Illinois to get to the door at the dance with the girl that brought them and then dump her at the door and then try to pick up a new one during the game. Usually doesn't spell success, if you know what I mean. But I hear what you're saying. They'll have the ability to get the ball in the post, though. Ivasic can post up. Morez Johnson will more than likely run the floor, being a pick and roll situation. I don't think his jumper is good right now for a pick and pop. But you'll see traditional bigs get in the post. Ben Humrickhouse will get in the post. You'll see Ty Rodgers get in the post. You'll see Illinois work out of the post. They won't abandon that. Orlando, Tim Anderson, Jeff Alexander in the recruiting world. In addition to Hamer zoning in on D and Tyler worked the offense. And Brad is sort of the CEO of it all. What a staff. I agree. Clark Kellogg, double LO double good. No doubt about that. Curtis Dietz, badges wearing back-to-back Final Fours. Great teams. What was Sam's last name? The wing that played in the NBA and played overseas. Sam was on that team. Golly, I'm drawing a blank. Great teams, though. Great teams. Woo! Kirk trying to get me in trouble. Steven, if you could play for any Illini coach except for Lou, who would you like to have played for at Illinois? How much would non-Illini? How about which not? Oh, okay. Which Illinois coach would I like to play for? Probably Bill Self, because I was close enough to see what he was able to do in very crucial situations, because a lot of times our radio setup would be near the bench, and I could kind of see some of the things that he would do in late game situations that were fascinating. Some of the jokes he would crack when the crowd is going bananas, you can barely hear anything, and he's cracking jokes to loosen the guys up. So it'd probably be Bill Self. Which non-Illini coach? Jim Larinaga. I love Jim Larinaga. I probably would have run through a wall for that dude, because what you notice about him is they get all their work done in practice. During the game, he barely gets off the bench. He'll get off the bench and make a slight adjustment here or there. The Hayes in the barn, he's going to let you play. He's going to give you confidence. And they played matchups all the time. I would have loved to play for Jim Larinaga. Carol says, if you could play. Oh, wait a minute. Clark Kellogg was one of my non-Illini favorite basketball players. I talked to him at the Final Four in St. Louis. He couldn't believe what I remembered about him and his team. Carol, a lot of people would not believe what you remember about players in those teams. You're a walking basketball encyclopedia. So those of you in the tribe, if you've really got any questions and you want to go down memory lane, hit up Carol Paquette. Trust me, if she doesn't have the answer, she has the next one. I'm not joking. I'm serious. Carol is a basketball encyclopedia, having been a good player herself. All right. Carol, see, to my point, here it is. Ted Kitchell was deadly from 15 feet. I think his favorite shot was from the baseline. I think Carol's right. Because based in the Indiana system, they're reading, react, passing, game situation. A lot of times, Ted Kitchell, you would find him setting the screen and then fading back, popping to the corner for an open look. Carol just proved my point right there. But Sean Leonard was a beast, one of the best scoring guards in the country coming out of Minnesota. AVP Diaz says, I've seen that AJ DeBonsa, number one player in the class of 2025. They're looking at around $5 million for him. Boy, has this money thing taken a leap. As it should. If somebody's willing to pay him $5 million, you don't think he's worth it? Guys, they're playing catch up trying to pay these players. It should have been paying them decades ago. Don't be upset. Be happy for the players. And you know what? Don't be surprised if AJ goes to BYU. BYU, y'all, is clowning. I think the owner of the Utah Jazz has something to do with their NIL. And they're being extremely smart because they're developing a pipeline. They've got a pro coach, Kevin Young, I think is his name, the new coach at BYU, longtime NBA guy. Really, and Gene Cross, a former Illini, director of scouting for the New York Knicks, speaks very highly of Coach Young, if that's his name. I think it's Coach Kevin Young at BYU. But BYU has got that bag. So don't be surprised if AJ signs with BYU. Ooh, James has a pretty good idea here. Why don't you and Ryan Baker put together a special Flyin Illini documentary? You think the former players will be up for that? There would definitely be an audience. Yeah, we could do it. We could definitely do it. We just have to try to figure out how to get these guys in one location and get in front of them. But that's a great idea, James. Thank you for that. Carol said, did you ever get to go overseas while you were wearing the orange blue? You know what? We went to Hawaii 3 times. We never got a chance to go Europe overseas, but I was fine with that because Hawaii was off the chain. Let's see. All right, Fly Line. Fly has a comp for KJ. Have flipped through a bunch of names in my head. Still haven't found one that sounds great. Not many guys like him out there unique. Yeah, let's think about this. A 6'6" guard. Let me go back in my Rolodex. A 6'6" guard who can handle, who's got great vision, can score on all 3 levels, not the best defender, will force things at times because he's uber confident and can be turnover prone, but great feel for the game. So I'm thinking of wow, it is hard. You know what? That's probably what I have to develop some player comps for the better players in the Big Ten. That's going to be good. Fly Line Fly, you're right. I thought you had an answer, but as I'm doing it, I'm even thinking about college basketball players. There's not a lot of 6'6" guards like I thought there would be. That's something. That's a topic for another show. Thank you, though, guys. That's great. Oh, Philip, I think it's going to happen. I think they figured something out where they can raise money like that and they can play like Tennessee or Illinois, like Tennessee played Michigan State. That was the best exhibition game I'd ever seen. Seriously. If you guys remember that Tennessee at Michigan State game when Dalton Connect was at half court. He did a wraparound bounce, took one dribble, got inside the free throw line, and dunked on 2 or 3 Spartans. That was a great exhibition. That was the best exhibition game I'd ever seen. So I think they're on to something. I think you're going to see more and more of that. Jeffrey, listen. I don't know why y'all crap on Sky Clark and players that leave Illinois. I wish y'all stop doing that. Please. I mean, you can do what you want. Don't stop doing it. It just Bush League. That's a problem I have with some of the Illini fans in the last decade or two. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure every other fan base does it, but I'm not a member of every other fan base. I'm a member of the Illini fan base. I'm a former Illini. It's Bush League. To wish guys, to crap on guys who wore the jersey but decided to go somewhere else. I don't like it. And the fact that you sat up here, Jeffrey, and said Sky Clark don't play defense, at least he didn't last year. Who's the head coach at UCLA, Jeffrey? Do you think Sky Clark would even think about transferring to UCLA, knowing that if you don't play defense for Mick Cronin, you think you won't get on the floor if you don't play defense for Brad Underwood? Shit. Okay. You ain't sniffing a jersey. If you don't commit to lock down and defend for Mick Cronin, you ain't stepping on the floor. So, Jeffrey, how you feel? Come on, guys. We got to be better than that. Yes, Curtis. Yes. Teams from super conferences, if they have a under 500 rating in conference play, they will definitely get into the tournament because it's just too many teams. They'll have too many quality chances. They'll have too many quad one chances. It's going to happen. Definitely happen. Oh, Fly Illini Fly. Thanks for that update. Sanderson, John Sanderson, former strength and conditioning coach at Michigan, is now at Vanderbilt. What's up, Denise? Great show as always. Is UCLA projected to be best of 4 new teams coming to the Big Ten? Yes, Denise. A lot of people have UCLA in the top 5, Oregon in the top 10, USC and Washington. See, I like USC's roster, and Eric Musselman is a hell of a coach. There's a lot of unknowns though, but certainly UCLA is in the top 5 in most preseason projections. Oregon will be in the top 6, top 10, I believe, in most projections. Washington will be down there a little bit, but UCLA could be right in the middle of the mix. Who had the best career in the NBA of an Illini? Kendall Gill. 15-year NBA vet. No. Wait a minute. That's not right. Either Eddie Johnson. Eddie Johnson or Darren Williams. And I might side with Darren Williams because of his Olympic gold medal and experience. But those two definitely, in my opinion. Daniel Jacobson can play. Very, very skilled. Way more skilled than Zach Edey was when he first got to Purdue. Can rim protect, can shoot the ball, can face. He's got decent footwork. Obviously, he's going to grow into his body, but he's a lot more skilled than Zach Edey was when he first got there. Let's see. Yeah, I'm telling you, because they're gonna have that bag flying on that fly for AJ. That's what I'm hearing as well. No, see, James, I played against Tony Kukoc. He's 6'9", pushing 6'10", and was quick. Oh, he was quick. And I was in a Bulls training camp one time, and I got matched up on Tony Kukoc, and that joker was coming up the floor, and he hit me with one of these with his left hand, and I was a great defender. I hadn't seen guys that big move like that. So no, I wouldn't say Tony Kukoc because he was 6'9", 6'10". He was way better athlete than Kasparis. But I great player though. No, Domask doesn't have Kasparis' skill set because Kasparis is a true point guard. Domask was not a point guard. He was forced into the position. Now he did a great job, but he wasn't a point. So KJ to me is a point. He can play the two, but you can tell somebody put the ball in his cradle when he was a shorty because he's got the ball on a rope. Let's see. Yes, Carol. He broke my ankles like that, and I was supposed to be a defender. That's probably why I didn't stick with the Bulls in that training camp. Yes, he broke my ankles. Yes, he did. So guys, let me make an announcement here. For those of you who are on Facebook, Bardo's Breakdown page is no longer after tomorrow at 3:50. I'm closing it down. Meta makes it very difficult for entrepreneurs like me on social media to try to build a business. It's very unclear what their rules are. They change all the time. And so if you're on or Bardo's Breakdown group, I highly recommend that you go to bardostribe.com, sign up for the newsletter so that when the site is completed, it's under construction this week, but we've got a brand new community. We might add an app to it. We're going to have the ability for you all to chat and communicate as much as you want inside of the tribe, but you've got to be a member because I'm getting rid of I'm going to keep my personal Facebook page, but Bardo's Breakdown group and Bardo's Breakdown page will be no longer here in another day or two. So make sure you go over to bardostribe.com and get your free copy of Triple Threat and sign up for the newsletter because you won't be seeing anything from me on Facebook. You'll see some stuff on my personal page, but I'm shifting everything over to Bardo Media on YouTube. YouTube is way more clear cut, a lot easier to use. You can build an audience there, and that's where I'm putting forth my efforts. Thus you see Bardo's Tribe at the top and Bardo Media at the top because that's where I am now. Facebook is going to be a thing in the past. I know I've got an older audience. I know that's where I develop my audience, but it's highly frustrating to work with Meta through their page and group because they change stuff up all the time. I could go live in the page. Now I can't. I could go live in the group. Now I can't. I put a simple post up from Michigan State. I reposted a post from Michigan State, and I get a warning from Facebook that this post is illegal. I got a strike on. You guys remember when I tried to do that poll and I couldn't quite get it to work right? Someone sent into Meta that I had terrorist quotes and words on that particular video. Seriously. So there's either someone trying to sabotage what I'm doing on Facebook or Facebook doesn't want me to do anything on there. So I'm going to oblige them. So I know I've got big numbers on Facebook, but it's going to go away. So all of you all that want to follow Bardo's Breakdown, make sure you get over to Bardo Media on YouTube Subscribe to the channel. Share with people that like this kind of content, because that's where the growth is going to occur. That's where everything is going. And I hope that you all consider joining the tribe on Bardo's Tribe, because we're developing something very, very unique. I know Sleepers Media has Discord. They have a Discord that I'm a member of that I love. Other people have different things that they utilize. I'm utilizing my tribe on bardostribe.com. So please go over there and join the tribe so you don't get left out of the goodness that continues to grow. We continue to make this thing better. And I love my tribe for rocking with me from day one. So those of you that aren't members of the tribe, I hope you go over there. I hope to see you there soon at bardostribe.com. And I hope to see you at Bardo Media on YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Thank you to UCLA assistant coach Brendyn Taylor for a fun interview introducing the UCLA Bruins to the Big Ten Conference. You guys have a great rest of your week. Until next time, hold on, let me do it.